The story begins at the most terrifying prison in the world. This prison was built in such an isolated wasteland where there was nothing but the dead silence of death for miles around. But the most shocking part was that this prison had absolutely no walls or borders. Even if a prisoner tried to escape, the guards wouldn't make the slightest effort to stop them, because all around the outside of the prison, buried deep underground, was a massive minefield. These mines were hidden so perfectly that nobody could even spot them. The moment a prisoner stepped on one, a massive explosion would go off, killing them instantly right on the spot. It was this sheer terror that kept anyone from even daring to escape. After this, the story jumps back a few days. We see a guy named Michael who had come to South America to party with his friends to celebrate his upcoming wedding. They all partied hard and had a blast. But the next morning, while they were all waiting for their flight at the airport, Michael's eyes landed on Ryan. He was quietly hiding something in his pocket, which was actually drugs. Ryan had very cleverly bypassed all the airport security and brought that poison right inside. Seeing this, Michael and the rest of the friends were absolutely terrified, knowing that if they got caught during the security check, they would be going straight to jail. Amidst all this panic, another friend of theirs, Greg, came out of the washroom clutching his stomach. Just looking at his condition, it was obvious he was in immense pain. Before anyone could even ask him anything, Greg collapsed straight onto the ground, and the very next second, a strange liquid started foaming out of his mouth. Right then, security guards arrive there with a sniffer dog. The dog goes straight up to Greg and starts barking aggressively. This makes the guards suspicious, and they immediately grab all of them and haul them into an interrogation room. There, the guards drop a bombshell. They tell them that Greg had swallowed balloons filled with drugs to smuggle them, and now those balloons had burst inside his stomach. The poison was rapidly spreading through his body. Hearing this, Michael and the rest of the guys are left completely stunned. They didn't have the slightest clue about any of this. They knew that even if they told the truth now, absolutely no one would believe them. Just then, the police arrive and arrest every single one of them. During the search, they find the exact same stash on Ryan too. The police assume that all of them are part of some massive drug cartel. Michael and his friends desperately try to explain everything, but the police refuse to listen to a single word and forcefully drag them all away. After this, they are all transported to that same terrifying military-controlled island. They are loaded onto a boat and taken toward that horrifying prison. Along the way, Michael notices something chilling: human corpses stuffed inside body bags. Seeing this makes him shiver to his core. He has absolutely no idea what is about to happen to them. After getting off the boat, they are packed into a truck and driven down a long, desolate road. Finally, they arrive at that very same prison surrounded by a deadly trap. Michael's father-in-law, John, was also with him. Looking at the scene in front of him, John is totally baffled as to why this prison doesn't have any walls. He thinks to himself that escaping from here would be a piece of cake, and the rest of the friends were thinking the exact same thing. But just then, their eyes fall on a prisoner who was sprinting at top speed, desperately trying to escape. A guard raises his rifle to shoot him down, but another guard stops him. Michael and his friends are watching all this unfold from a distance. As the prisoner keeps sprinting forward, his foot lands squarely on a landmine. The very next second, a massive explosion goes off, blowing the prisoner to pieces. Witnessing this horrifying sight, Michael and all his friends start shaking uncontrollably. Now they finally understood exactly why this prison had no walls. John immediately turns to his son, Kai, and tells him that they need to find a way out of this hellhole as soon as possible. On the other hand, Greg's condition was getting completely out of control, and his stomach had started bleeding. He desperately needed medical attention right away. Greg begs two of his friends to go find him a doctor. Both of them immediately rush out to search for one. Meanwhile, John and his son Kai head to the prison office and demand the guard let them see the warden. The guard presses a button, and a room's door slides open. They step inside, but there isn't a single human in there. There's just a computer sitting on a desk with a live video call running on the screen. The man on the screen was the prison warden. The warden straight up tells them that since they are British citizens, he can't help them in any way. They will just have to wait for the court's verdict. John asks how long that will take. The warden replies, 5 to 6 years. Hearing this, John loses it and furiously starts arguing with the warden, but suddenly, the computer screen just shuts off. Meanwhile, after turning the entire prison upside down, Michael and his friends finally manage to locate a doctor. They desperately try to explain to the doctor that they are innocent, but the people there didn't even understand their language. They try communicating using hand gestures, which only ends up irritating the doctor even more. He suddenly pulls out a gun and starts threatening them. Terrified, they all throw their hands up in the air. Right then, the doctor pulls back a curtain behind him. Tied up inside a bathtub completely filled with ice water was a man. Seeing this horrifying nightmare, they start screaming at the top of their lungs for help. Just then, one of the friends grabs a heavy chair from behind and smashes it straight over the doctor's head. The doctor gets knocked out cold and drops to the floor. They quickly cut the tied up man's ropes, but the guy starts acting like an absolute maniac, grabs grabs the doctor's gun entirely naked, and bolts out of there. Right after that, 2 nurses in uniform arrive, load Greg onto a stretcher, and take him away. The friends assume he is finally being taken for treatment. Following this, John and his entire group go to meet the prison manager, Selma. Selma seats them at a dining table and tells them she already knows Greg is a very wealthy man. She drops a deal in front of them. If they pay her $200,000, she will get them out of there safely. Otherwise, they will rot in that place for the rest of their lives. They all desperately wanted to escape, but they didn't have a single penny on them. They begged Selma for some time, but just by looking at their faces, Selma figured out these guys were dead broke. She immediately called the guards and had them thrown out. The moment they step outside, a complete stranger hands them a letter from the British embassy. The letter stated that the embassy would investigate the matter, even if it took 100 years. Just reading that final line made them realize that this was all just a total sham and nobody was coming to save them. But John encourages everyone, assuring them that someone will definitely help them. Just then, a prisoner walks up and informs them that a cell has finally been arranged for them to stay in. They are taken to that cell, where a ruthless gangster named Banco and a girl named Clem are already locked up. The moment they walk in, Banco tells them that one of them will have to give him both of their kidneys. A doctor is going to prep everything for this. They all look closely and realize it's the exact same doctor they had smashed with a chair. The doctor points straight at one of the guys and says he's the one who hit him. Banco pulls out his gun and instantly shoots the guy right in the head. Seeing this horrific murder, everyone starts trembling with fear. After that, the dead boy's body is laid out on a bed. Banco orders Clem that she will be the one to rip the kidneys out of his stomach. He walks her through the process. First find the spot, then cut the skin, and stick your hand straight in to pull the kidney out. Clem was absolutely terrified, but out of sheer fear, she does exactly what she is told. She manages to pull the first kidney out perfectly, but while pulling out the second one, her hands are shaking so badly that it drops straight onto the floor and is completely ruined. Seeing this, Banco goes absolutely insane with rage. Now he desperately needed a second kidney no matter what, so he comes up with a twisted plan. Banco brings out a bunch of short wooden sticks and tells everyone to pick one. Whoever gets the shortest stick will give up their kidney. With shaking hands, everyone draws a stick, and as luck would have it, John ends up with the shortest one. John was ready to give up his kidney, but the doctor refuses, saying John is way too old and his kidneys are completely useless. After him, the second shortest stick belonged to Hugo. Trembling with fear, Hugo takes off his clothes and sits inside the ice-filled bathtub. Seeing his friend in this state, Kai just couldn't take it anymore. He instantly snaps his own stick to make it shorter and screams that his stick is the shortest, so they have to take his kidney. Kai pulls Hugo out of the bathtub and sits down in his place. John steps forward to stop his son, but Banco instantly points his gun right at John's head. But right at that exact moment, a guy shows up at the door and tells Banco that his sister, Selma, is calling for him. Hearing this, Banco leaves the room, and Kai and John narrowly escape death by the skin of their teeth. The moment Banco leaves, Clem bursts into tears and screams that she never even dreamed in her worst nightmares that she'd have to rip someone's kidney out with her own bare hands. Just then, that demonic doctor walks back in, grabs Clem by her hair, and forcefully drags her inside. Meanwhile, Kai takes a ring off his hand. Earlier, while they were busy taking out the kidney, Kai had quietly slipped that ring off the dead guy's hand and hidden it, and right now, this was the absolute only valuable thing they had left. Later that midnight, Ryan quietly wakes Michael up and takes him outside. Ryan tells Michael that he strongly suspects Greg isn't the only one involved in this whole conspiracy. There's someone else too. If Greg was the only one smuggling drugs, then why did the police arrest all of them? Both of them decide that they are going to uncover this dark secret no matter what. Dodging the guard's sight, they sneak into an office. They see that Clem is there. Clem had been kept there to take care of Greg. Ryan tells Clem that they desperately need to see Greg right now. Clem agrees, but warns them to stay completely quiet, otherwise the guards will spot them. Clem takes them inside, but the moment Ryan and Michael lay eyes on Greg, their blood boils with rage, because it was all his fault that one of their best friends got murdered and had his kidney ripped out. Greg begs them to calm down and explains that he didn't do any of this on purpose. He had absolutely no idea the consequences would be this horrific. Greg tells them he has a way out of here. He just needs a phone to contact his boss. If he can talk to his boss just once, he'll get all of them out. Michael and Ryan actually trust his words, and they step outside, racking their brains trying to figure out how to get their hands on a phone inside this hellish prison. On the other hand, the rest of Michael's friends were starving to death. They didn't have a single penny, and in this prison, you didn't get food without cash. Hugo spots a little girl lending money to the prisoners. Hugo walks up to her and asks to borrow $100, but the little girl tells him that since they promised to pay Selma $200,000, absolutely nobody in this prison is going to lend them a single dime. Hearing this, they all lose total hope. It felt like they were literally going to starve to death right there. Just then, Kai spots an old man handing a chicken to a prisoner in exchange for cash. Kai instantly tells John about this. They all rush over to the old man. John takes off his custom-designed, expensive shoes and hands them to the guy, begging him to trade the chicken for them. By a stroke of luck, the man agrees, takes the shoes, and hands over the chicken. Meanwhile, Michael and Ryan were hunting for the prison's undertaker, the guy who handled burying or burning the dead prisoners. After a long search, they finally track him down. Michael tells the undertaker that he needs him to do 2 things for them. First, cremate their dead friend's body, and second, let them make 1 single phone call. In exchange, Michael flashes that expensive ring. The undertaker inspects the ring and instantly knows it's highly valuable. He agrees immediately, but lays down one condition. He says he'll only do one job. They have to choose what they want. For Michael and Ryan, escaping was the top priority, so they decide to ask for the phone. The undertaker snatches the ring and hands them an old cell phone in return. Michael immediately grabs the phone and rushes back to Greg. Dodging the guards, the 2 of them slip into a washroom. Greg quickly dials his boss's number and begs him, pleading to get them out of there somehow. The boss agrees to pull them out, but asks exactly how they got trapped in there in the first place. Hearing this, Greg instantly hangs up the phone. He turns to Michael and says he can't tell the boss the real story, or he'll go absolutely ballistic. Greg tries to manipulate Michael, telling him to tell the boss that this was all his fault, and that the drugs were actually found on him. He promises that if Michael takes the fall, the boss will pull Greg out, and once Greg is out, he swears he will free all of them. Michael just stands there, quietly listening to his absolute garbage, and slowly nods, yes. Greg dials the boss again, completely flips the story, and says they got trapped here because of his friend, Michael. And right after saying that, Greg shoves the phone straight into Michael's hand. Michael puts the phone to his ear, but he completely ignores Greg's plan and spills the absolute truth to the boss. He tells the boss that Greg was the one smuggling drugs behind everyone's back, and he is the sole reason they all got busted. Hearing this, Greg completely panics and desperately tries to stop Michael, but Michael shoves him away and keeps talking to the boss. Michael had figured out that Greg was just playing a game to save his own skin, and once he got out, he would never come back to save them. Greg lunges at Michael again, but this time, Michael hits him with a massive full-force punch. Greg is sent flying backward, and Michael sits on top of him to finish his call. Once the call is done, Michael calls out to Greg, but Greg doesn't respond. Michael shakes him violently, but then he realizes Greg wasn't breathing anymore. Michael's devastating punch had killed Greg right there on the spot. Realizing he had just taken his own friend's life, Michael starts trembling uncontrollably. Just then, someone starts banging loudly on the washroom door. Panicking, Michael frantically shoves Greg's dead body into the toilet stall and bolts out of there. Michael sprints back to his cell and chips away a small piece of the wall to hide the phone inside, but his cell door was left open, and John's chicken escapes outside. As soon as Michael steps out after hiding the phone, a chicken feather drops right onto his head. He looks up to see a guy standing there, holding that exact chicken. The guy looks dead at Michael and says he saw absolutely everything he just did in the washroom. Hearing this, Michael's blood runs cold. He instantly rushes up to the guy, folding his hands and begging him not to tell anyone. The guy says he'll keep his mouth shut, but in exchange, Michael has to do a job for him. Michael agrees without a second thought, and the guy hands the chicken back. That night, all the friends sit together, roasting and eating that chicken. That's when Michael tells everyone that there is a factory on this island, and they should start working there from tomorrow. That way, they can earn some cash, otherwise they will all just starve to death. All the friends agree to his plan. The next morning, everyone heads to the factory to work, but Hugo isn't with them. Selma had summoned Hugo to her office. Selma tells Hugo that he has a massive job to do. He has to sneak into her brother Banco's room and plant a landmine under the floor to kill him. Hugo is terrified hearing this, but he says he will do it only if she guarantees his freedom. Selma agrees, but makes it crystal clear she will only get him out, not his friends. The following day, Selma takes Hugo with her to meet the prison's ultimate boss. The boss had also summoned Clem there because Clem was highly skilled in medicine, and the boss desperately needed her expertise. When Hugo and Clem finally get a moment alone, Hugo instantly spills everything about Selma's bomb plot to Clem. Hugo tells her that they can use this dark secret to their advantage and escape. Clem completely understands the play. Just then, the boss calls both of them in to eat. The boss is thrilled to meet Clem, but instead of talking to him, Clem turns to Selma and demands to speak with her in private. They step outside, and Clem straight up blackmails Selma, telling her she knows everything about her bomb plot. She threatens that if Selma doesn't set her free, she'll expose everything to the boss. Selma gets scared and agrees to free Clem as well, but she lays down one condition. First, Clem has to successfully perform a liver transplant on the boss. Clem agrees to the deal. Meanwhile, a sharp pain suddenly shoots through Michael's stomach, and he clutches his gut, sprinting straight to the washroom. Once inside, Michael starts pulling packets of drugs out of his own body. Right at that exact moment, his friends start banging loudly on the door. Michael panics panics completely. He quickly dumps all the drugs into the toilet and hits the flush. Michael opens the door and steps out, and his friends ask what just happened inside. But just then, the toilet water overflows and starts flooding out. And floating right along with that water are all those packets of drugs. Seeing this, all his friends are left completely stunned. And right there, the biggest secret of all is finally exposed. Michael was also involved in smuggling the drugs. At the exact same time, up on the hill, Selma and her brother Banco are enjoying a celebration. Selma subtly gives Hugo a signal. Finding the perfect opportunity, Hugo sneaks into Banco's room, sets the bomb right under the floorboards, and quickly slips out. After this, Hugo goes into another room and starts downing liquor to calm his nerves. But suddenly, one of Banco's friends walks in and stands right behind him. Seeing him, Hugo is startled to his core and slowly puts the bottle down. At that very second, an alarm in the room starts blaring loudly. Hearing the sound, Banco's friend finally reveals his true identity. He was actually an undercover agent who had infiltrated the prison to expose all of Selma and Banco's dark operations. Hearing this, Hugo is filled with absolute terror and tries to make a run for it, but the agent grabs him tight. And right at that exact moment, the bomb planted in Banco's room goes off with a massive explosion. Banco sprints into his room only to find that his agent friend had been blown to pieces, and his lifeless body was lying on the floor. All the guards present there start firing blindly and continuously, because Selma had ordered them to do exactly that. But they had no idea that absolutely no one was left alive inside that room. Standing on a distant rooftop, watching this entire horrific incident unfold, was the exact same man whom Michael had helped escape. Back inside the prison, John's anger was off the charts. John starts brutally beating Michael because he had just found out that Michael was also a drug smuggler, and he was about to marry John's daughter while hiding this massive dark secret. Ryan jumps in the middle and tries to stop John. In the scuffle, John's foot suddenly slips, and his head smashes hard straight into the toilet bowl. Everyone thinks he is dead, but suddenly, John opens his eyes, and everyone is left completely shocked to see him alive. Meanwhile, Banco just couldn't bear the gruesome death of his friend. Going absolutely insane with rage, he grabs one of Hugo's friends, threatens to kill him, and forces the truth out of him. Out of sheer terror, the friend confesses that it was Selma who had taken Hugo with her. Banco instantly connects the dots and realizes that this entire deadly game was orchestrated by Selma, and that bomb was actually planted to kill him. Seeing the situation deteriorate, Selma doesn't waste a single second and makes a run for it. Banco pulls out his gun and starts chasing after her. They both sprint while exchanging heavy gunfire. Hearing the gunshots, the guard on duty at the watchtower climbs down. The man standing on the roof was watching all this unfold, and the moment the guard steps down, he sneaks straight into the guard's control room. He makes a phone call from there and alerts everyone that a massive shootout is happening between Selma and Banco, and all guards need to get there immediately. The second all the guards leave their posts, all the monitors in the control room suddenly go completely black. The moment the main controller grabs a wire to fix them, he gets hit by a massive electric shock and drops unconscious on the spot. Instantly, every single door in the prison automatically unlocks. Grabbing this golden opportunity, all the prisoners start rushing out like absolute maniacs. But right then, the controller regains consciousness, snaps awake, and instantly slams the emergency button. As the emergency alarm blares, Michael is sprinting at the very front and is just about to step onto the minefield when Ryan yanks him back from behind. Ryan hears an explosion going off in the distance. Hearing that terrifying sound, everyone running through the field freezes exactly where they are, because they knew that if they took even one more step, a bomb would detonate right under their feet. But John doesn't care about any of this. He feels they will never get another chance to escape. His son, Kai, screams at the top of his lungs to stop him, but John ignores him completely and takes a step forward to run. The exact second his foot hits the ground, a horrific explosion goes off, and John's body is blown to pieces right in midair. Michael and Ryan are standing in a safe spot. Michael looks at Kai, screams at him, and tells him to throw the phone over to his side, which had dropped right next to Kai. Michael promises that if Kai tosses him the phone, they will pull him to safety. Trusting them, Kai picks up the phone and tosses it toward Michael. But instead of Michael, the phone lands straight into the hands of the exact same man who made the call from the control room. The moment he gets the phone, the man instantly starts looking for a way out. Michael and Ryan completely abandon Kai in that field of death and start chasing after that man. Kai keeps screaming for help from behind, but Ryan and Michael don't even look back once. They leave their own friend there to die. Kai is left standing there. On one side, his father's blown up body, and on the other, his friends who had just betrayed him and run away. Meanwhile, a bodyguard takes a young boy into the operation room for a liver transplant, where Clem was supposed to perform the surgery. Just then, the boy's sister tosses a fake bomb into the room from the outside. Everyone thinks it's about to explode, and they all run out of the room in absolute terror. Taking advantage of the sheer chaos, the young boy tries to escape and gets into a brutal fistfight with the guards. He beats them down and is just about to run when Selma steps in and blocks his path. But right then, Clem sneaks up from behind and jabs a syringe straight into the boy's neck. The boy instantly drops unconscious to the floor. Selma is highly impressed by Clem's move and orders the bodyguard to escort Clem safely back to her cell. The second the two of them step out, two small kids rush up and plunge a knife straight into the bodyguard's stomach. The little girl gestures for Clem to make a run for it. Clem instantly snatches the ring of keys from the bodyguard's pocket and sprints away. Over on the other side, Michael and Ryan are chasing that man and head toward the tunnel route. Along the way, they spot the dead body of the Undertaker. Back inside, Clem uses those keys to unlock a room. Trapped inside is a girl named Gemma. Clem unties Gemma's ropes and sets her free. Thrilled, Gemma tells Clem she will show her the secret way off this island. Gemma walks out of the room and suddenly slams the door shut, locking it from the outside. Now Clem is the one trapped inside. Clem is left completely stunned by this horrific betrayal and starts screaming for help. Just then, Selma walks up, unlocks the door, and tells Clem that it's time for her operation. They both head to the doctor's room, but the moment they walk in, the ground slips from under their feet. The doctor's dead body was lying right there in the bathtub. Right then, Gemma shows up and ambushes Clem. Selma tries to stop Gemma, and a vicious, all-out brawl breaks out between the two. During the scuffle, a gun drops onto the floor. Clem instantly grabs the gun and aims it right at both of them, freezing the fight dead in its tracks. Gemma keeps glancing over at a large fridge in the room. When Clem questions her, Gemma spills the truth. Hidden right behind that fridge is a deep, secret tunnel that leads straight to the ocean shore. Hearing this, Clem and Gemma get ready to escape through it. Selma stubbornly insists on going with them. Then, all three of them push the heavy fridge aside and crawl right into the tunnel. They haven't gone far when they suddenly hear the terrifying roar of a vicious gorilla. Without even looking back, the three of them start sprinting forward. Just then, Selma spots a dead body by her feet. It was her boss. They instantly realize the boss was trying to escape through this exact route and got torn to shreds by that very gorilla. Leaving the boss's mutilated body behind, they reach the final door of the tunnel. To open that massive, heavy door, three separate buttons had to be pushed. All three of them press the buttons at the exact same time, and the door slides open. But waiting right outside the door was Banco, standing there with his gun drawn. The second he lays eyes on Selma, he unloads his gun straight into her chest. Banco tosses his dead sister's body over his shoulder and walks away. Banco doesn't say a single word to Clem or Gemma, because he already knew they would never make it out of there alive anyway. The moment Banco leaves, Clem quickly scrambles up and jumps outside the door. Before Gemma can climb out, Clem slams the door shut from the outside. Gemma is trapped inside. Just then, that vicious gorilla lunges from the shadows and attacks Gemma. Gemma screams in pure agony, begging for help, but Clem just stands right outside, coldly watching the whole thing happen, because Gemma had betrayed her first by locking her in that room. Meanwhile, after a grueling struggle, Ryan and Michael also make it out of the tunnel and reach the ocean shore. Ryan is completely exhausted and collapses onto the sand. Suddenly, Ryan notices Michael walking toward him, holding a massive rock in his hands. Before Ryan can even process what is happening, Michael smashes that heavy rock into Ryan's head with all his might. Ryan drops dead right there. Michael did this because he wanted to keep all the money from the drugs they stole from the factory entirely for himself. Leaving Ryan's dead body behind, Michael climbs into a boat tied to the shore and fires up the engine to make his great escape. But right then, rising out from the ocean water, Clem climbs onto that exact same boat. Michael is absolutely shocked to see her. Clem had just witnessed Michael brutally murdering Ryan. Michael realizes that if Clem stays alive, his deadly secret will be exposed. At the same time, Clem knows Michael won't hesitate to kill her too. Just then, both of their eyes lock onto a gun lying right in the middle of the boat. Suddenly, the deafening sound of a gunshot echoes through the air. Who actually shot who on that boat? Did Clem shoot Michael, or did Michael shoot Clem? And with this terrifying, suspenseful mystery, the story comes to an end. Let us know what you thought of this video in the comments down below, and absolutely do not forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.